Hello everyone and welcome to this second online engagement session that we are so happy to host, and we're so happy that so many of you have decided to join for us at this, for some late hour, for some early hour, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Ida.
And I'm Kasper, and together with Ida we are leading the Danish bit for the World Scout Jamboree. Backstage we also got some scouts who are doing the technicals, and we also have Carl with us who will read some of your questions aloud later.
Yes. And during this next hour, together we will dive into the thoughts and the visions for the Danish bid for the 27th World Scout Jamboree. We will reflect with each other, discuss together, and have a small quiz about Denmark. Then we will share our ideas on how we can create an impactful jamboree together for our movement. And lastly, we will of course learn from all of your questions and your comments and try to answer all of them as best as we can. And with us today, we have people from, a lot of scouts from the Inter-American region. So welcome and good morning to all of you. We're so pleased that you could join us, even though you might be at work or something else during the day. We will record this session, and just so you know, and on your screen you will be able to both access a Q&A column and a chat column. We will ask you to use both of these things during the session, and we will also ask you to engage with us. And if you want to speak directly to us, you can raise your hand online on the Zoom button. Don't do it physically, then we can't see it. But raise your hand, and then we will let you have airtime, so to say, so we can hear your comments or your question directly. Right. Let's just dig into it, and I will hand it over to Kasper.
Yes. Okay. To start off, we want to do a soft takeoff here. So what we want you to do is to think of your happiest scout camp memory, because it is great memories we want to create doing a World Scout Jamboree. So in a moment we will put on a video. It is only like 3 minutes long, so use the time to reflect on your happiest and greatest scout camp memories, and then please share them in the chat. You can just write a short recap of what your best experience is going to scout camps. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in this short reflection. I think we're definitely in the mood now to shape the best World Scout Jamboree so we can give these memories to the next generation of Scouts. So, moving on to a fun little
activity before we dive into all of the content of our bid. Then we will do a short quiz to see what you really know about Denmark and the Danish history and Danish Scouts. The questions will appear on your screen one at a time, and then after you can read the question, and I will read the question out loud, and then you will have some options to answer, and then in the end we will figure out the right one. So let's take the first question. In 1909, the first Scout organization in Denmark was established, and in 1924, the second World Scout Jamboree took part in Denmark. How many Scouts participated in this Jamboree? Was it 3,994? Was it 5,687? Or was it 4,549 participants? Time to place your answers. All right, 3 more seconds. Let us see. All right, okay, the correct answer is 4,549 participants from 33 countries. And actually this event, it was the second World Scout Jamboree, and it was also the event where that started the, that was the first Jamboree where Scouts actually lived in tents on the campsite. And that is a tradition that has ever since on a World Scout Jamboree lived. And this year we celebrate the 100th anniversary of this camp. So if you're in Denmark on the 1st of August, come by and join the celebrations of a truly historic event. Next question. Since 1907, Scouting has developed children and young people through play and fun activities. In 1932, LEGO was established in Denmark with a similar purpose. The LEGO Foundation shares the Scouting mission and supports projects for young children and young people. What is their motto? Is it serious play, learning through play, or play together? Answer now. Can you guess it? You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, the correct answer is learning through play. And learning and doing activities like Lego has as a core purpose is something that we do a lot of in Scouting. It's our core purpose, but it's also something where we can collaborate a lot, especially with the LEGO Foundation that supports projects that enables and builds capacity and competencies in children and young people. So there's a major option of collaboration with the LEGO Foundation and with other sorts of foundations, which is a very crucial part of our Jamboree bid. Next question. In 1910, Lord Baden-Powell's older brother wrote a book about sea scouting. Denmark has more than 25 sea scouts all around Denmark, and they use the Danish coastline for their activities. But how long is the Danish coastline? So how much space do we have for activities? Is it 2,300 kilometers? Is it 5,500? Or is it 7,300 kilometers? So how much space does the Danish Sea Scouts have to play? Once again, we will do 5, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is the biggest amount of space, 7,300 kilometers of coastline. At our Jamboree, sea activities and water activities will be a big part of the program, since it's something we have a long tradition for in Denmark, and also an excellent way of challenging yourself and learning new skills while out at seas. Other people who were good at seas were the Vikings. So this is the next question. The Vikings were known for their seafaring skills as they sailed around and explored the world. Harald Blåtand, a Viking who was famous for unifying Denmark and Norway, inspired the name of a technology that came forth in 1997. What is the name of this technology? Is it Wi-Fi? Is it Bluetooth? Or is it Ethernet? All right, let's see. A few more seconds. If there are any Nordic-speaking people in this session, this question will be maybe too easy. But let's see. All right, let's go count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The correct answer is Bluetooth. So the Bluetooth logo was inspired by Harald Blåtand, which means Bluetooth. Why we use him and still talk about him today is because he unified people across the globe, and he was very good at making sure that we learn and share our learnings and knowledge across borders. This is what Bluetooth is also trying to do, a technology we can use to share and explore each other's experience and learnings. Okay, the last question is coming now. The next 2 national jamborees in Denmark will be in 2026 and 2030. During the past 12 years, the 5 associations in Denmark have hosted in alliance together and 3 jamborees nationally. And all 3 national jamborees had about 10% of international participants taking part. But how many participants took part at each jamboree at an average? Was it 28,000? Was it 36,000? Or was it 33,000 participants? This is the final question, so you can get 5 out of 5 if you're really, really good and just know a lot about Denmark. I would be super impressed. Okay, let's count down for the last time. And 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is, once again, the highest number. 36,000 scouts took part in, at average, in all 3 national jamborees, with also a total of 10% of international scouts. And don't you fret, there will be 2 more opportunities to join the National Scout Jamborees as well during the next years, if you want to take part in that. But thank you so much for joining in. I hope you learned a little bit about Denmark, and this just for you to get a little bit of feeling about what is this country we're going to hear about for the next 45 minutes. And I could see that a lot of you got, wow, a lot of correct answers. This is really impressive. And I'm sure that by the time we reach Denmark in 2031, you will know so much more. I will hand it over now to myself. Yeah. I will switch. There we go.
To the next slide.
I will go to the next slide, because that's also here. Okay, so now we're going to dig a little deeper in our motivation behind this bid. We are going to look into what we want to do with our jamboree and what our motivation is behind. To start off, we have been wanting to do a World Scout event for a long time. But we have wanted to make sure that before we do, we have to be properly prepared, and we have to be ready to take on the responsibility that is a World Scout Jamboree or World Scout event. Our motivation for this event is that we want to create a jamboree that makes a deep and wide impact, not just for the 50,000 scouts taking part, but also for the rest of the movement. There's 50 million scouts today in 2024. Who knows how many we have in 2031? We want all of these scouts to feel that a jamboree has taken part, even though they can't be there physically, all of them. So we want to amplify the impact that scouting has on the person, on the NSO, and on the world. We want to do this by creating, influencing, and volunteering. Creating by empowering youth to develop skills for creating a better world. Influencing by enabling scouts to influence and drive positive change in their local societies and as a global movement. And lastly, volunteering. We want to reinvent ways of attracting and empowering volunteers to amplify the movement the movement's growth and to promote volunteering as a positive tool for change throughout the community, national, of the country and the globe. This we believe we can do because we have experience, a vast experience in hosting national scout jamborees, as you just learned before, with 36,000 scouts taking part each time. And we have a strong collaboration with authorities and with other organizations that support us in building a safe, empowering, and impactful jamboree. But we'll get more into that. Now I'll hand it over to you, Kasper.
Thank you so much. So just to set the scene for the next 8 minutes or so, we will run shortly through some of the highlights that is making a World Scout Jamboree. And going through these highlights, we will just share like the top of the iceberg, because getting into details will take much more time. But we hope you will get like a baseline of our thoughts, what we have been working on until now. And again, later in this session, we hope to engage with you and get some of your inputs and some of your highlights, so we can merge these things together and again together make the best possible World Scout Jamboree for 2031. So, as you see on your screen, program is, of course, for us very essential. It's the thing that makes up the content of the World Scout Jamboree. And what we want is something engaging and adventurous that is based on the Scout method and, of course, the theme that we have laid out for the Jamboree. And what we mean by that is that we need to learn through games, plays, and sports. So again, using our Scout method and doing educational program in a fun way, as we do as Scouts. So we will have, international patrol challenges, the classic cultural day, and much more in the program as highlights. But overall, everything will be in a setting of, fun, engaging program where you also learn something. And then we have, for us, a very important element is that we want all the participants to go back go back home with an impact plan. So throughout the Jamboree, we want them to create some kind of impact plan that, they can go back into their communities and live out, and again, spread the Scout values and again, do a positive change in their community. Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you for that. And moving on to where we're going to be. What's the campsite going to be like? What is Denmark even like to camp at? We will have a campsite that will be on a lot of fields where there's space enough for everyone. It will be a campsite with space for 50,000 participants. And it will be the same campsite that we used the year before for the National Jamboree that will have approximately 40,000 participants. So this Jamboree site will be tested and fully proven when we get to 2031. We built this campsite in collaboration with local authorities and with national authorities so that we ensure to have a safe campsite and also ensuring to make it as sustainable as possible. This campsite will be built in collaboration with the municipality's engineers, and also it will be make use of all the resources that are already at the camp, that are already established. The campsite is situated in beautiful surroundings. There's a lot of nature around. There's a lot of forests where we can have a lot of activities, and then there's, of course, as you learned in the quiz, there's a lot of water to do water activities. There's both the sea and there's many lakes where we will have a lot of activities.
Yeah, and in a general term, when we look at Denmark as a host and as a place to be, we are lucky to have a stable environment, where we have mild weather. we don't really have any natural disasters. Dangerous animals are not an issue in Denmark. It's kind of a very peaceful place. For us, again, Denmark is a place of safe surroundings. We get, we have support from all the authorities, but even the municipalities and stuff like that, crime rates are low. We don't have, a lot of issues with with people or anything. So it is from our perspective at least, a very peaceful place to host a national a World Scout Jamboree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's also very closely related to our plans on sustainability. And sustainability is not something we just say because it's 2024 and everyone has to address sustainability. This is something that is at the DNA of Scouting, that we always ensure that we leave the world a little bit better than we found it, and that the same goes for when we use nature and surroundings for our activities and camps. We have an ambition of having a camp, a jamboree, that will be driven by 100% green energy. That is a very realistic ambition because the Danish government has already made plans similar to that by 2030. So that should be very possible and achievable. Then, in terms of establishing the campsite, some might worry that it can be a lot of resources being used to actually establish the campsite. But because Denmark is such a small country and the infrastructure is already so strong, it's already connected to water and electricity, sewage systems and other types of infrastructure. So it will be very easy and with very limited extra efforts that we will connect the campsite to running water and electricity. And as I said before, the jamboree, the national jamboree, will take place the year before, and they will also have the same use everything that we will at the World Jamboree. So these systems will already be in place and have been tested. Then we will look into food waste programs, where we will collaborate closely with both authorities, health and security, food and health authorities, but also with NGOs who have it as their core mission to reduce food waste. There are some very big NGOs in Denmark who want to work with reducing food waste nationally and globally, and we'll do a close collaboration with those to ensure we have a sustainable food program. Lastly, transport-wise, there's a very big and very well-functioning public transport system in Denmark, and we will look into how we can offer alternative transportations for NSOs. So, for instance, some NSOs can fly in to the same hub to perhaps a big airport in Denmark or in Germany or surrounding countries, and then travel together from there via train or buses to the campsite and to the venue.
Yeah. For some countries, the first issue you are meeting, signing up for a World Scout Jamboree, is actually just getting a visa, and we know this has been troublesome in earlier situations. And what we want to do about this is put down a dedicated visa support team that will have a direct contact with all the NSOs who need visas, so they will be guided throughout the process. We will try to take some of the stress off the NSOs, so it's not that big a hassle doing the visas. We already got a lot of support from the Danish government and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. If you look at the picture, the nice guy smiling is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, and he has already approved of this camp. Then again, for transportation, there's a lot of access points for the campsite. It's only 1 hour from the nearest international airport. There's connections to the European rail systems, and roads are good in Denmark and in Europe in general. So easy transportation around the country with public transport is also a thing, and that will also help people who are staying before or after the Jamboree, that you can use the infrastructure that is already in place and it's no hassle. Yeah.
A brief, some brief moments about our organization, and by this we mean the planning team of the Jamboree. It is extremely important to us to really emphasize that we wish to have a transparent organizational structure where it's clear to everybody where the responsibility for each of the pillars of the Jamboree, where it lies, and how the reporting system is, and also who is part of the Jamboree organization. With this, we as well thrive for having a multinational planning team, which is for us it is one of the core elements of having a World Scout Jamboree. It is supposed to be a multinational planning team. We are really inspired by the way the Polish Jamboree right now is planning their event, where they have had from the very beginning open calls to invite people from all around the world to take part in the planning and to be able to have very crucial parts of the planning team. We will also be using a method that we've used for the past national Jamborees. We will have dual leadership roles. For every leadership role that there is through the organization, we will have 2 people sitting on that role to ensure a stronger and more resilient organizational structure. And also this gives us an opportunity to make sure that we have people with more experience and some with maybe a little bit less experience in the field, but the person with less experience is also very crucial because they can come with other ideas and perspectives to this role. This is also a way to ensure capacity building in WASM, so we ensure that after this Jamboree we will have an even larger pool of volunteers amongst the whole world that can continue planning strong and safe world events. Yes.
Yeah. Then this is the last slide before we get into the engagements part of this session, and solidarity funds is one of the things that we have looked very much into in our bid, because we want to create opportunity for all NSOs in the whole world to take part in this Jamboree. Our aim is that every single NSO that is on the paper will be at the Jamboree in 2031. And the way we have been approaching this is that we will set an ambition of allocating 10% of our budget to the Solidarity Fund. This is like 4 times the WASM requirements, but we think this is the way to go because we recognize that the fee structure that is in place right now is not enough to offset the differences and the opportunities people have around the world. The way we will hit this goal is by getting external funding from both national and global foundation. And we strongly believe that this is possible. Denmark has a lot of experience from our national Jamborees getting big funds, big companies, big NGO stuff like that to support the camps. So we strongly believe that we can hit this goal and again get a lot of support from the rest of the world, but also being able to support all the small NSOs in participating in the camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a rather brief run through of some of the elements of our bid. If you have any questions to any of the things that we've said already, or some comments, please remember to use the chat and the Q&A. The Q&A is for questions. The chat we will use in just a moment. But please make sure to use it. And also if there's questions that is something we haven't addressed, then we will make sure to address it here in the end of the session. So write down your questions while they're still fresh, and we will get back to them, we promise. For now, it's time to engage a little bit with you. Exactly. We have called this section Patrol Time or Patrol Hour. And here we want you to think of this as we are now one patrol. We are one patrol working together. The task is set from our troop leaders, and they want us to discuss and engage perspectives and give perspectives to the dreams of a World Scout Jamboree and the impact that a World Scout Jamboree can have. The way we're going to do this is we're going to take first the dream part, and I'll ask aloud the question, then I'll give you a little time to reflect, and then we would love for you and ask you to engage with us in the chat and also virtually, well, by sound, by raising your hand virtually. And if you do so, our genius people taking charge of all the technical parts of this session, they will make sure to give the floor to you so that you can have a chance to address your perspectives and your reflections.
Yes.
The reason we do this is because we truly believe that a Jamboree is a World Scout event, and also the whole process of both bidding and planning it is something that should be with the whole world and not just one country. So the first part is the dreaming part. Imagine the challenges of the world in 2031. So we are now in 2031. Imagine all the challenges that you see around you and that you see young people being faced with. What do you dream? What do you hope that the World Scout Jamboree can do to solve or address these challenges? So reflect a little bit on it. We'll give you some time and enjoy the silence of reflection. And then write in the chat or raise your hand to share your reflection. All right. While you start typing some of your reflections or your perspectives, once again, imagine that we are in Imagine how the world could look. What are the challenges? What is the biggest things that youth or young people are facing? You can imagine that you're still young in 7 years' time. I'm sure you are. And what do you hope that the World Scout Jamboree can do to solve these challenges, to address these challenges?
We already got one in the chat.
Yeah.
Saying, and it is Mio from Sweden, and he says natural catastrophes due to climate change should maybe be some of the challenges we should focus on. Yeah. That's
a really, really good point. Thank you for that, Mio, because we already know that climate change and natural catastrophes, that's a hard word, catastrophes, it's already happening, and we already see it right now, but we know for a fact that we will see more of it. And we also know that governments, even though they are starting to work a little bit for this and to try to prevent it from happening too much, there's simply so many things that are already too late and will happen. So we need to make sure that we create resilience in scouting, and we enable them to be resilient and be adaptable to these new challenges. But I think it could also be very interesting that the World Scout Jamboree tries to address this by really focusing on the multicultural meet and the conversations that you can have together, because the challenges that we will be facing in Denmark might be very, very different from what you face in Inter-America, in Martinique or in St. Lucia. and the Caribbean islands.
Yeah.
So there's the difference of how we will meet these challenges is wide, but that doesn't. But I think in engaging in the solutions together, that is where we get the really strong solutions, because it is relevant for everybody, even whether you live in Denmark or in Guatemala.
We have another one, and maybe I can piggyback on what you said before. It is Katarina from Sweden saying, work for understanding across nations and nationalities, peace, democracy, and a world with less polarization. And I think, like you said, and Mio also addressed, like these natural catastrophes, natural disasters. And I think with time we will also see that, again, some migrations in the world, because people are actually pushed out of the area they live in, because it's not inhabitable for people anymore to live in. And when people are pushed, around in the world, we will see these meetings of cultures and clashes of cultures sometimes. And I think what Katarina is pointing at right here is, we need to develop the understanding and the respect for other cultures. Having a World Scout Jamboree with so many different cultures and nations is, I think, one of the best forums to actually learn to be in the same room, with other people that have another background, have another culture, think of things in a different way. But we need to learn how to, respect that and understand that, and able to be in the same room and peacefully, like Katrina says. Yeah.
Definitely, and I think some of the things we've already discussed a lot regarding how we would like to see the program of the Jamboree is that we really want to emphasize the focus on the cultural conversations across borders and regions, but also on working together on these issues in multinational patrols, in international patrols, where you get the perspectives from all around the world. And also addressing what both Mio and Katarina have said in terms of these climate issues. We've discussed having climate will still be on the agenda in 2031, so having a part of the program that specifically focuses on climate issues, on both understanding it, because it is a complex matter, but also working with solutions, inviting in organizations from around Denmark and around the world, inviting in universities to actually start to work on some of these projects, like the wonderful project Scouts Go Solar. Do projects in those terms that will actually amplify this impact. So if we can get all of these scouts to take some of these solutions back home, we will actually have a clear impact.
Exactly. We also got a Katrin saying, and I don't know where Katrin is from, but she says, help young people to handle AI in a wise way.
Yes.
So I think, again, it's about, technology will be a bigger part. And again, the generation we're in right now is already, getting behind. So trying to have scouting also be a place where we can teach young people how to handle the world they're living in, because it's moving very, very fast. And it can be, difficult at times to know how to act and react in the best way possible.
Definitely.
I think one of the things that I love very much about the Danish bit, our bit, is that we are trying to give the tools to the scouts so they can actually address a lot of these issues. We are aiming at, teaching tools and not, solving a specific problem, but again, giving the tools so we can, again, figure out how we can solve a multitude of issues and problems. And
also a problem that is relevant to them in their context.
Exactly.
So they can discuss how to use the tools in an international setting, but also with the reflections on how can this be relevant to my reality, because our realities are different. And in terms of AI, we also have a part of our program focus is responsible technology, because we want to focus on how can technology will just continue to be part of our lives, and even more so in 2031. So we need to use that responsibly, and also create engagement and meetings between young people where technology is maybe not part of it, or also where it is, so we can get a broader reach for our Jamboree, more than the 50,000
Yeah.
taking part. Yeah. Is there any more? Should we continue?
I haven't seen any more, but I'll look at our technician. No, there's not right now. That's fine, because we will have the time in the end also to Q&A if for all sorts of random questions.
Yes.
But yeah.
Then we would like to shift the focus a little bit. This is a bit more concrete in terms of impact, and the impact that the Jamboree should give on the Scouts and what they will take away from the Jamboree. What do you hope that Scouts will learn at the World Scout Jamboree in 2031? So it's a little bit related to the dream, but then now we're getting a little bit more concrete. And there's some examples below. It could be specific life skills needed to play a constructive role in society, or in your community, in your globally, or learnings on how can they bring these learnings or programs back to their NSOs to create a wider impact back home. So a few seconds again of reflection for yourselves, and then once again we hope you join in on the chat. There is also the option of you raising your hand on Zoom. Don't just do it in front of yourselves, then we can't see it, but do it on Zoom, and then we can give the mic over to you. I would begin to slow talk a little bit, and some of the some of the things and the reasons why we're asking these questions is because we truly, and I said before, we truly believe that we need to work together in shaping a Jamboree, so that we ensure that that the Jamboree will have a program that not just suits the Danish Scouts or the European Scouts or the Danes and all the inter-Americans that are joining here today, but we need to make sure that we have something that takes all the cultures of our movement into consideration, so that we truly can have a global program that addresses all the vast areas of our movement. Now, do we have any comments?
Not right now, but if anything will pop up, we will take a look at it. I would say, in regards of the last point here on the screen, to bring learnings into the NSOs, the ambition from our part is that whoever makes up the detailed program of the World Scout Jamboree will think into the program that it should not only be a program for the 50,000 people at the site, but we need to make a program that can reach further than the actual World Scout Jamboree, that people outside the Jamboree can participate in, but also that, in some way, when great quality programs are developed, we will share those with all the NSOs in the world, so every NSO will have, take something back from the World Scout Jamboree. Definitely. And we hope you guys on the other end of this screen right now will be part of that. And again, that's why we're asking you to give some feedback, engage with what a World Scout Jamboree should be and can be. And again, in the end, hopefully also join the planning team.
Yes.
And again,
very much.
Be those people who make that great program.
Yeah. All right.
We got one question.
Yeah.
We'll have time. We'll have time for one question here. Yeah, so it's from Katarina in Sweden. I hope for impact, so that our participants return home empowered and strengthened to take action. Also small steps to improve their local society. Also, I hope that every participant stay in touch with at least one other participant from another part of our globe. Oh, that's a good one, yeah? That's
a really good one. Thank you for that, Katarina. Yeah. Especially, well, all of the points, but talking to the point about action and enable participants to go home and take action in their local societies. That is exactly what one of the core elements of our Jamboree bid is about. We want to enable young people to create change and to go back home and influence that change, and to, in that way, also inspire others in how you can, by volunteering, create change and make a difference in your society. And yeah.
A specific, we mentioned it earlier, a specific thing that we have figured out, we hope that will be very impactful, is that to have every participant create this impact plan that is relevant to their local society, to their home. And again, throughout the Jamboree, this impact plan will be developed. And when they go home, we will have 50,000 scouts impacting the world and be ambassadors of, the Scout movement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the dream. All right. Thank you so much for taking part in this little patrol hour, or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Now we will invite our friend Carl to the stage as well. And Carl is going to, has been looking in the chat and reading some of all your questions.
Yeah, I have. I hope you all can hear me. It's looking very good from up here.
Yeah.
Also nice to be up here.
Nice to see you.
Welcome.
You're looking good up here, so thank you so much.
It's a nice place.
And I have some questions for you, and I hope you're ready. It's from the comments, and it's from people who wrote to us.
Yeah.
So I hope you are ready for answering.
We are.
The first question is something that you mentioned a little before. It's about the sustainability of the camp.
Yeah.
The question is, how do we make sure that this Jamboree is going to be as sustainable as possible? So in terms of food and waste and environmental impact and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we
I love that you're raising your hand.
We're just winging this. So again, the questions are from you guys, but Carl is presenting them to us right now. So I think for sustainability, we're very aware that sustainability is not just one thing. It's not just about like where the campsite is, or only focusing on food, for example. But it's a multitude of things. It's how we can create alternatives to transportation. It's looking at the food waste and a program for that. It's about the materials we use and source for the Jamboree. And again, we feel very confident that we have a lot of experience with that from our national Jamborees. Again, it's also about the way we structured the Jamboree itself, like connecting to the already established networks in the local community. And then again, we have a ambitious aim, but also a realistic aim, because in Denmark we have a lot of alternative resources for energy, that we can do a 100% green energy camp. Yeah. So yeah, we are looking very much forward to that.
And in addition to that, sustainability is also about the social and the economic sustainability.
Exactly.
Whereas in the organizational structure, it's the dual leadership is an important part for us to ensure a sustainable organizational team, planning team, to make sure that there is not just one person sitting with all the responsibilities, but to have a big team of volunteers behind every leadership, and to have this dual leadership to ensure that there is room for a person who has a leadership role to also tap out a little bit if you need it. Because we are all volunteers during this event, so it's a lot of work. It's very fun work, but it's also a lot of work, and we need to be very responsible with that. As well as the economic sustainability, we have had good success in hosting the past national Jamborees with a surplus, a healthy surplus at the end of each Jamboree, and so with a positive budget. But we're also very focused on we're not aiming to have a budget that would give a giant surplus, because that for us is not a responsible, sustainable economy behind this Jamboree. And that is also why we're aiming at both focusing on the 10% in the Solidarity Fund, as well as looking into, if we have a budget and we look at the surplus, if the surplus is larger than some percentage, then we will look into how can we use that surplus for the next world event, so that we as an NSO, we don't need to benefit economically from this. It should be more the movement and the world event, future world events that should be able to benefit from this. Thank you. Good question.
Are you ready for another one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
Bring it on.
It's also something that you got a little in touch with earlier on, but you mentioned something about an inclusive jamboree structure.
Yeah.
And we got a question about. Can you tell us a bit more about this inclusive jamboree structure and this transparent organization that you're talking about? How is this transparent organization? How should we understand it? What is it all about?
Thank you for the question. I actually think Ida said some quite good things earlier, but for
thank you.
Yeah, but I'm not afraid to
elaborate.
Elaborate on that. Transparent organization is of course about everybody being able to know and see where decisions are made, who is in charge of what. It will also make it much easier for everyone participating and NSOs to look into who am I actually going to reach out to if I have this kind of issue or this kind of question. So that's the transparency we want in the organization. It's easy to understand and it's easy to engage with. Regarding you said inclusivity is again our experience from doing dual leadership at our national jamborees. We have seen how resilient that makes the organization, but it also makes a lot of opportunity for young and experienced people, for different genders, from different it's much easier to be inclusive when we make the space also that people can engage with, and we hope that the organizational structure that we are looking at will have much more room for people who wants to join in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because even though it's extremely important to deliver a successful and safe event, it's also a learning opportunity for all of the volunteers involved. That doesn't mean that we are being unsafe with or gambling with anything, but you can still have experienced people and someone with a little bit less experience, but who are eager to learn and eager to gain this experience, so they in the future can continue working on world events or national events.
Yeah.
So it's about capacity building as well as inclusivity.
Yeah.
That makes really good sense. Also in terms of the sustainability.
Yes.
I have another one, if we have time for it.
Yeah,
we'll
let's
have
take
one more.
look. Yeah.
I think this is also really good question. It goes, how do we make sure that every scout feel as taken care of and as safe as possible on this jamboree?
That's an excellent question. Thank you for that as well. So, of course, during whenever we have a World Scout event, we now in WASM have really good practices to ensure the safety of all our participants. There's the excellent Safe from Harm framework that we will, of course, follow, as well as in terms of, there's also the safety regarding health and safety on site. Here we will have a close collaboration with Danish authorities, with the Danish police, to make both risk plans during and before and after and everything else, but also to monitor constantly the jamboree and be ready if something were to happen, be it a natural disaster of some sort or extreme weather suddenly, which we've experienced in the past at jamborees. So we will have systems put in place for this, and we also have a wide experience in hosting these sorts of events, and the municipality as well has a good experience with collaborating with authorities and having a lot of people, handling a lot of people at the same time. As well, including the safety, it's really important to us to create a safe environment for every participant, also to be as an inclusive event for people with disabilities, visible or non-visible. This is something that we see, especially the non-visible disabilities, more and more of in the generations to come. So this is extremely important that we address this and we create safe spaces. Both we have, of course, the Safe from Harm framework to use, but also have a lot of volunteers in place and structures in place to create these environments. Yeah.
In Denmark, we have a lot of NGOs and also companies working with, you know, people with, again, visible and invisible disabilities, and there's, you know, I'm sure that there will be a collaboration with those kind of NGOs and companies, so we can gain the right experiences to build like a structure that is inclusive for everyone. Yeah.
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 I actually think that was all the questions I had.
Yeah.
There's a single comment
Yeah.
that maybe
Okay.
is really, really beautiful to end on.
Okay.
Yes.
It's from the all the way from the start, from the reflection.
Ooh. Let's hear it.
You told us that we should think
Yeah.
about our
Yeah.
camp memories and what we was seeing for our inner side.
We're there. Yes.
And here is one saying, I'm seen walking around the camp area by the sunset, talking with leaders and participants about the day, seeing smiling faces full of new memories.
Oh.
And I think that's
Wow.
really
Okay.
spot
That's
on.
beautiful.
It's
That's
really beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I kind
So,
of feel like I'm there.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
well
really.
with
Thank
that.
you to
Yes.
whoever
Really-
wrote that. Yeah, that
really
that is
beautiful
a
note.
yeah.
Perfect.
That
Thank
is
you
a
so
nugget.
much, Carl. Thank you
You're
for the
welcome.
questions, or thank you for the questions, and
Yeah.
thank you for Carl for giving us them.
Yeah.
With this, we will just wrap up here. If you have any more questions, you can still write them in the chat or the Q&A. We will keep the line open for a bit. And we will also, of course, be available on social media, on our website. You can find our email address, and you can feel free to reach out to us in any way. It can be by email or a message anywhere, as you see here on the screen. The next step for us is, besides engaging even more with you in the coming 2 months, we are preparing to see you all, hopefully, or someone from your NSO in Cairo, where at the World Scout Conference. And there you will, of course, be able to meet us. We will have a stand. You can't miss it, I promise. And if you have anything else, we will also try to reach out to your NSO leadership during these next 2 months. So be prepared for that as well. We're not done contacting you.
Again, we will keep the lines open for the next 10 minutes. So if you have anything on your chest you need to get off your chest, write us, and we will address any comments and questions. But we will be off screen from now on and say thank you for participating, and have a nice evening or morning or wherever you are in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Exactly.
And thank you so much for joining us.
So, thank you and bye.
Bye.